I love deception. I love deception. I love perception. I love inception. I love redirection. I love the way I can take something and put it in a way, phrase it in a way that makes the idea either disappear, accentuates it, augments it, exaggerates it, whatever I want. I am the shadow government. I'm this group of people, this organization, this lattice work that controls everything. I go by a number of different names. I go by different descriptions. It doesn't matter. It's like when you talk about crime. Is it evil? Is it crime? Is it sin? Is it the devil? I don't know. We're talking about pretty much the same thing, but it's not necessarily what you think it is. Every now and then something comes along as a method, as a training vehicle to affect your deception. Fani Willis is still the best. I want you to be aware of something. If they dig deeper on her case, if they dig deeper, if the great work of Ashley Merchant, and I told you she is going to be the superstar, she is connecting with people. She has it. There are some people who have it and some people who don't. Some people who that when they talk to people, they connect. Other people don't. She connects. She connects in a way that is so fascinating. She's so correct. She is so correct in this. And what she is going to find out is that the way that Fani Willis's office was funded, the way that things were set up, the way that Nathan Wade was paid, and others are going to show a level of corruption, crime, violation, financial impropriety, pecuniary distortion, you name it, dear friend. Name it. Name it. It's beautiful because they're digging and they're digging and they're digging. And once, just once, they're not stopping. If you get to her, you get to everything. It's beautiful. It is so beautiful. And we are seeing this. But it depends upon, are you going to do something about it? Are you going to enforce it? You see, a government can come up with all the rules at once. The government can come up with every conceivable form of law. But if it doesn't enforce it, if it doesn't do something to enforce the law, it's a waste of time. My dear friend, welcome. It's a dark and gloomy and rainy and cold day in New York City, but with you here with me, with your warmth, with the love that we feel today, with the communality of spirit. Oh my God. Can you feel it? Let's have fun today. We're going to talk about her. We're going to talk about Candace Owens and that sniveling toad Ben Shapiro. We're going to be talking about Kate, deception, lies, red flag laws. We're going to be talking about things that you've never even, nobody's even brought to your attention yet. But more importantly, it's not just what we're going to talk about, it's how. So please sit back, subscribe to the channel, dear friends. And before we begin, let me remind you of this great sponsor of ours regarding some of the most important things in the world, and that is emergency food. Let's talk about a very serious subject, emergency food. That's right, emergency food. Now, I know at first blush it's difficult for most people to think about something that they just take for granted, ever reaching, emergency status. We're used to stores always being open, deliveries always made, no supply chain disasters, no ransomware catastrophes, shutting down gas stations, no trucking strikes, no war, no protests from farmers, no mysterious Chinese weather balloons, nothing catastrophic in terms of weather. Well, that can't happen to us, right? And I understand it's a defense mechanism that we have because the idea of ever not being able to eat or locate food is seemingly incomprehensible to most people. But think about this. It's not. That's why it's time for you to go to my site, preparewithlionel.com. Preparewithlionel.com has the deal of deals for you. Take it as a starter set, an introduction set. You've been putting off emergency food for too long. Some people still have a thing about prepping as though prepping for emergency is foolish. Now, right now, you can save $200 on a 3-month emergency supply kit. This is unbelievable. 22 varieties with a 25-year shelf life, 25 years, 2,000 calories a day in 6 rugged buckets, 120 pounds of food. Could you go 3 months, 90 days if stores closed? Be honest. Could you go a week without any trips to the store? I don't think so. I'm not talking about having stuff in your cabinet. I'm not talking about banana chips and jerky. I'm talking about food, real food. So go right now to preparewithlionel.com. This moment right now, preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. Go now and thank me later. All right, my friends. Now let me explain something to you. As you know, and by the way, welcome to Alice Fava and Alistair McLaughlin, 2 new members to the crew. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want you to understand and to comprehend what's happening. It's not enough for you just to be upset. A lot of these folks, they do these shows and they're very wonderful and they point something out and they say, well, this is new and this is new and this is terrible and this is awful. But what does it really mean? What does it really mean? And sometimes there's an example of something. There's something which is so critical. The first rule you've got to understand is that they don't fear you. You know who they are. You know who they are. I call it the shadow government. I don't know what you want to call it. It's not Chuck Schumer. It's not AOC. It's not Biden. Imagine this thing that says, what is it that makes the body? What is it that makes the human body? There's, of course, the neurological system, and there's a digestive system, there's a cardiac system, and there's the autonomic system and hormones. It's a conglomerate. Well, what makes evil? What is our component of evil? There is the entertainment component. There's the military. There's the political. There's the cultural. There are other people who are involved in it. And I submit to you, dear friends, that the cultural parts of our system are more important than anything involving the army. It's the cultural. Because what do I do to keep you in? If I promise you, let me just go to this extreme. If somehow the evil shadow government could somehow corral us into a prison. Imagine, I don't know how it would be done, but imagine there would be a prison, a walled prison where everybody was in. You couldn't get out. You couldn't leave. You were there. You were stuck. You were not going to leave. You cannot do anything. You can't communicate to each other. You can't foment and incite riots. You are in a prison. If that were ever possible, if that were ever remotely even potentially possible, if it were possible, everything would shut down. You would see Washington shut down. You would see movies shut down. You would see music. Nothing. There would be no need to control you. Think about what I said. Let me just repeat this. If we could take everybody, I don't know how this would look conceptually, but if you took all of the people, the 300, the U.S. What is the U.S. population roughly? U.S. population is 300 and U.S. population is what 341 million, maybe, right? If we could take all of our 341 million and put us into a huge camp, prison, area, state, if you go all, everything would shut down. There'd be no TV. There would be no cell phone. There would be no, they would have controlled us. They would not want us to be happy. They would not want us to be communicative. They would not care about our weight and our looks and our health and our attitude. And you wouldn't need Oprah. There wouldn't be Ozempic. There would be nothing. There would be nothing. They want to keep us in and under control. Edie Crowley, our dear friend, says the Constitution, just a token book now. Ah, indeed. Do you remember this thing? Do you remember this thing called the Georgia Guidestones? Do you remember what this was? Nobody really knew what this thing was, who put it there. America's Stonehenge. Remember what this thing was? It was this, nobody, I don't, it's like, okay. But one of the things it wanted to do was to limit population. Why? Or one of the things that it presented was the notion of limiting population. And the reason why is to control us. There are too many of us. There are simply too many of us. Too many of us. They want to control us, to keep us in. They want to use all of the devices, but apparently we're moving out. And what happens when we go out too far? What do? They want to move us back in. Sound like a Godfather line. Remember when the Northern California fires happened? Remember that? Do you remember that? Do you remember the official story of the Northern California fires? Do you? Do you remember? Do you remember how this happened? And it was incredible. And some people came along and said, I think these folks may be trying to do this deliberately to keep us under control and to keep us not living in rural parts, but to move us back into the cities where they can control us, where they can wall us, where they can stack us up and put them into micro parks. And it sounded to people insane. Do you remember that? Remember that one? I mean, I said to people, there's something to that. What are you talking about? I said, there's something to that. There's something to the notion of what they do not want us to be moving about, and so keep them inside. Lahaina, either is sometimes. And here's the bottom line. Either way, and this is the most important thing I can tell you. Whenever we posit, postulate, hypothesize, what did they do to us? They shut us down. About anything. Stop. You're crazy. Marjorie Taylor Greene might have said something which must have hit a nerve. Jewish lasers, anti-Semitic tropes. Rothschild. She's on to something. Why? Because they're going crazy. They're going crazy. They always let you know when you're on to something by virtue of their overreaction. Let me say this again. They always tell you when you're on to something when they overreact. Number two, let me ask you a very simple question. Is what Israel doing now in Gaza, is it genocide? Yes or no? Let me ask you a question. Simple question. Simple. Is it genocide? Yes or no? Answer my question. Is it? Is it? Very simple question. Before we go on, is it genocide? Is it genocide? We got no, I think so, no, 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 yes, no, exclamation point, no, 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 yes. Okay. For those who say no, why is it not? Let me ask you, why is it not genocide? Tell me why. Bob Goodman writes something which is the most important thing you can write. It depends upon the definition. Absolutely correct. What do you not mean? What do you think that word means? What do you connote? What are you saying? What are you saying? Are you saying, some people say no, no, no. Some people say no, 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 no. Don't talk about Israel. Or no, 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 no. We don't do genocides anymore. No, no, no. That was last time. That was Rwanda. We don't do that. We're past that. We have learned from that. Some people do not understand what is happening. Faye writes, all wars are genocide. Let me explain something to you. Underneath, according to the Genocide Convention, it's a crime, and by the way, there's a congressional statute for it, that could take place when both in a time of war as well as a time of peace. It's not during war. And the definition contained in Article 2 describes genocide as a crime committed with the intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group in whole or in part. Let me say this again. To destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group in whole or in part. Now, before we begin, the question is, do you think there's any evidence that the current government of Israel wants to eliminate, to destroy, in whole or in part, Gazans? A national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Now you could say, well, I don't know if that. Do they want to get rid of Palestinians? Well, not really Palestinians. If you consider Gazans, if you consider them to be a national group, in whole or in part, yeah. But what do you mean in whole? To destroy them in part? Do you think during World War II we intended to destroy the Japanese in part? The Japanese, Hiroshimans, Nagasakians, in whole or in part? Does that count? Anybody want to talk about this? Anybody want to talk about this? Then we get into the issue about the notion of whether this is considered a specific intent violation of such or not. This is really important. This is really, really, really important. Now, what I'm telling you right now, I promise you, you've never heard anybody discuss, because they're jumping right into it. And what you will hear all the time, what you will hear specifically, no matter what it is, whether it is, and I say this with all due respect, no matter who it is, no matter how this thing works, if there is a, I'm trying to get this new particular reference. Oh yes, dolus specialis, meaning specific deceit. Now, when I tell you this, if you listen to all the great shows, Judge Napolitano, Mearsheimer, Scott Ritter, The Gray Zone, Katie Halper, Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal. They start off with this is a genocide, and that's it. I would love for them to say, let's argue against it. Judge Napolitano in particular. Be the advocate and jump sides and say, why is it not? Why is it not? And you can argue two things. Number one, under the definition, you're not going after a people, an ethnic group, or religious, or whatever, and in whole or in part. And number two, there is no specific intent. And what they're doing is they're showing and they're listing the particular statements made of members of the government regarding how they are going. You cannot believe what people have said about what they want to do to Gazans. Okay, let me move this out of the way. It is not as clear-cut as you think, depending upon your perspective. If you are Max Blumenthal, it is absolutely 100% genocide. That's it. If you are Ben Shapiro or Dennis Prager or one of those other, it is 100% self-defense. You are out of your mind, or you're anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist or whatever it is. So somehow there's these two. And in the middle, there needs to be somebody to say, let's talk about this. Nobody's doing this. So Candace Owens came out because she is going to be cut down to size by someone. She is far too, her youth, she's 34 years old, very smart. Her youth, her fire will ultimately destroy her if she doesn't know how to reel it in. Listen, my friends. Listen, my friends. Listen to what I'm saying. This is your Uncle Leon talking here, okay? Tone it down. Reel it in. I heard something the other day. Maybe you can tell me where you heard it. You never have to fear the loudest person in the room. You never have to fear the loudest person in the room. Never. There's too much of an anger. Too much of I got to prove myself. She's too scattered. I like her. I don't agree with everything, but that doesn't mean anything. Ben Shapiro and others was absolutely the most cowardly. He doesn't control anything. He's a little marionette. He's a puppet. And one could argue, he is not going to change or to remove his position whatsoever. But they gave in. And in a situation, she pushed him. She pushed him. And I love that. But I want you to say something, and I want you to listen to me right now. And I want you to listen very, very carefully. I want you to listen to me. Promise me you remember one thing I've said. I want to live in a country where everybody can say whatever they want. Now, Candace Owens can say whatever she wants. She's going to be bigger and better and stronger and more powerful than anything anybody has ever seen before. Thanks to the likes of these idiots. Okay? Thanks to these idiots. There are people who, whatever it is, Piers Morgan, the most despicable human being ever, who puts people together and loves to take. It's like me taking people who are. It's like me pushing people together and slapping, like taking people who are kind of crazy and throwing them at each other and watching them beat each other to death. You know those every now and then you'll hear about these fights to the death in prisons. That's what he does. Let's take Junk Ugert and Shmuley Botiak, whose daughter sells butt plugs. This is one thing I will never, ever understand. Are you kidding me? And I've got nothing against butt plugs or anal beads or any, no gerbils, but that's it. But this is clownage, 100%. But he takes these two and he pushes them together. Then he takes this Riza, whatever his and puts him against Dennis Prager, and they're scraping at each other. I hate this. And then he has no balls, no guts. When he can come out and talk about Kate, he doesn't do it because he doesn't have it. Let me tell you something. Having guts doesn't mean that you run out into the field and taunt the machine gunners to kill you. It's not to stand in front of a semi. That's not guts. That's stupidity. But he plays it. He is this little coward because when it comes to the Royals, oh, he's a little wimp. It's disgusting. Our good friend Ms. Lauren says, talk about our specific disease. I think you're going to see a lot of cancers. Wonder why. Toby Keith, Catherine, etc. The jab. My friends, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to have you say something. And I'm going to say something. Let me ask you, and thank you. Oh, Sparky says, like Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer and I one time got into an argument. Oh, man. Oh, it was so good. It was on a show called the Opie and Anthony Show. It was on Sirius. Let me give you a little hint. If you ever see me do this, you know what I'm doing. You know what drives people crazy? You know what drives people crazy? This. When you're in a TV show or you're something and you say, and we were in the same room, and you say, I don't think you know what you're talking about, versus I don't think you know what you're talking about. This drives people crazy. This drives people crazy. He went berserk. Let me explain something to you, dear friends. I want you to imagine that you and I are working. We're going to change this because this is about causation, cause, and scientific method. You and I are working at a company, and we have put out this substance called mRNA or Tylenol or whatever it is. It's a vaccine. It's a substance. It's a pill. It's an antibiotic. It's whatever it is. We've put this out. Okay. And all of a sudden, people start saying, hey, there's a lot of cancers going on. There's a story yesterday that talks about about plaque as being somehow connected to mysterious cancers. Stop for a second. First thing I thought about is, why are they putting the story out? One answer could be because they're trying to shift the blame away from all these people dying. Okay? And all of these cancers that are coming about. Sparky says Jerry Springer was Piers Morgan's fellow Brit, wasn't he? I don't think Jerry Springer was born. I think he was a Cincinnati, but fellow Brit, fellow Twit, perhaps, maybe, but I don't know if you mean literally. I believe he was remember, Jerry Springer was the mayor of Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer wrote a check to a hooker. This is the genius this guy was. So what people are saying is, you have these groups of people. There are people who say now, and they're coming out of the woodwork, that the jab is responsible for everything. Every time there is a fellow who does, I'm not going to mention his name, but he does a wonderful Substack. And I swear to God, every time somebody cancels their concert, every time somebody drops out of a thing, every time somebody dies, every time somebody's sick, every time he kind of says, Now, when did all of these jabs stop? Now they're saying, they're intimating, this is the story. Okay. So how would we dispute that? First and foremost, you got to have somebody to come forward and say, yep, that's the reason. And so far, nobody has. There have been a lot of people talking about this stuff. Number two, you've got to look at how people in the past, the incidence of cancers throughout the past Look at it any particular period of time. Look at people in show business. When you become aware of something for the first time, you'll swear they are everywhere. What do I mean by that? Let me give you an analogy which may help a little bit. One time we set an office in this one building, and the elevators were very, very slow, and we would stop, and there was a fertility clinic, like an IVF kind of a thing. And so, well, we got up to 3 or 4 floors, packed ostensibly with women who cannot have children. And you think, my God. And you talk to people, we've never seen infertility like this ever. It's the most incredible. And somebody says, but they're putting it off longer. But it doesn't matter. And then you go to Mumbai or Mexico City, and you see a gazillion people, and you say, I don't think people are having a hard time having children. But in my world, in my fishbowl, it seemed like we were until I'm out. You see what I'm saying? Sparky says, seems like cancer needs 3 risk factors to happen. The jab, people say, maybe the third for some. Again, let me start by saying this. And I'm not trying in any way, to dissuade your suspicion. But the first thing is, I run away from crowds. I never learn anything from the crowd. The crowd is always wrong. The suspicions are right, but the crowds are wrong. There are people who love this. You are deliberately looking for this. That's why we need double-blind studies. You are deliberately looking for this. Not only that, you are deciding that all of a sudden, for reasons I don't know, people are experts in cancer. I have a friend of mine, medical school professor. One time we were talking. I said, is cancer environmental, genetic, accidental, or all of the above? And he said, yes, it's everything. What kind of cancer? Where is the cancer? What form? Is it in situ? Does it move out? There are some cancers that people get that are very manageable. I'm not an expert in this. Look at Kate yesterday. What kind of cancer does she have? I have a friend of mine who's in the radio business, who all of a sudden he believes that this was, but not knowing anything. He said, probably pancreatic, Early on, they do a Whipple surgery and then do chemo as prophylaxis. Well, it's actually an adjuvant. And I said, wait a minute. You sold radio time. What the hell do you know about pancreatic cancer? You don't even know anything. But that's what he's looking for. And that's what you're looking for. You want more than ever. You want more than anything, in a weird way, for once and for all, to say that this is, please don't take this the wrong way. But I know people who would say, I want there to be the proof that all vaccines are part of a Bill Gates depopulation, kind of a nanotechnology world. They want this more than anything you can imagine. And it's depopulation, and it's this, and they want it, and the cancers, they want this. They want it. Do you hear what I'm saying? They want this because they hate him, or they love this. Do you remember when COVID first started? People were coming out of, remember, all of the platforms. These people didn't know anything. I said, this is the most ridiculous. And then we had one group of people who questioned nothing. We had one group of people who didn't believe anything, and somewhere in the middle. And right now there are people saying, aha, Toby Keith, wait a minute. Talk to anybody from any organization, from any group, any cancer, and find how has the rate been doing? You're looking for something. Years ago, people would say marijuana use is linked to hard drug use, because people who were on hard drugs always started off with marijuana. This is what they said. They still believe it was a gateway drug. Remember that? It was a gateway drug. And they still believe it. They said, well, it's true, isn't it? This one took the jab. This one got cancer. What about the ones who didn't get cancer? Well, I don't know. But this one smoked marijuana and now he's on heroin. What about the ones who didn't go on heroin? Well, because you're looking for it. That's why you have to have double blind. You're looking for this. This is what you want. You want this. In your mind, you're saying, I know what I'm saying, and I know what I'm saying is right. And I know all my life. Do you listen to that kind of music? This is why you have suicidal behavior. Let me ask you a question. You're going to love this. What is the role of TikTok in teenage suicide? Sparky says, very clear. He says, Caton wills aren't always strictly plant-based in their diets, but it's their preference. Can cause pancreatic cancer with Steve Jobs. Steve did crazy stuff like eating only carrots, etc. No, Steve Jobs, no, not because he ate carrots. When he was diagnosed with it, they told him, and he eschewed treatment variables. How do I say this? They said, you can do this. He goes, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do something else. Now, if you think that eating carrots brings on pancreatic cancer, if you think there's any evidence that plant-based, let me rephrase this, that not eating meat causes cancer. Let me say this again. It's not plant-based. There are people who eat loads of vegetables, loads of it, but they also eat meat and dairy and eggs and chicken and tuna and all this other stuff, right? So let me say this again. You're missing the point. Are you saying to me that eating meat will keep you from getting pancreatic cancer? Eating bacon, eating beef with bovine specific hormones, antibiotic, go through the whole, to trans fat, blah, 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 saturated fat. Are you telling me that the reason why some people got sick is because they didn't eat animal protein? Well, let's look at countries where they don't eat either animal protein or don't eat a lot of it. Do you want to know what those numbers are? No, you don't. You do not want to see that. There are parts of the world where there is no such thing as breast cancer, no such thing as heart disease. None. In 1958, I still think one of the most incredible statistics ever was the fact that in Japan, in 1958, they found like 18 cases of men who died from prostate cancer. Now, I don't want to get into this because I'm telling you, I am not an expert in this. But I can tell you that your methodology is wrong. I know that for a fact. I know it for a fact. The methodology is wrong. Why is there a disproportionate number of black people in prison? Why does 14, let me just give you a number, and you can argue that. Why does 14% of the population result in 67% of people in prison? Or maybe a lot. Why? Why is that? The answer should be, I need more data. You can't just point this out to me. Sparky says, meat can be bad too. Try eating polar bear liver if you believe me. No, not certain. No, not meat. Not meat. What are we talking about? Brains? Is that meat? I've had brains before. Italian is very good. Brains, they have these prions. Remember when they thought that Hillary had Kuru disease? Do you remember that one? Do you remember that? There was this thing, she has Kuru from cannibalism. I mean, it was the wildest thing I ever heard. But people said, yeah. Why? Because first of all, they hated her so much. And then they thought that she and somehow Huma were involved in cannibalism or something. It was the craziest thing. And I said, but she's alive. She'd be dead if she had Kuru. Well, whatever. Nobody knew. They didn't know anything about it. They said, no, that's not what it is. But they really, there are people who love this stuff. They just love this. They just, oh my God. I can tell you, look at all of the people. Look, I don't have to tell you about this. If you don't know the scientific method, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't even know how to say, before I say this causes this, let me ask you a question. Sparky and Bob and Ronald, does cigarette smoking cause cancer? Yes or no? Does cigarette smoking cause cancer? Does cigarette smoking cause cancer? It's a very simple question. Does it? Well, I've known people who got cancer and were heavy smokers. Does cigarette smoking cause cancer? Well, it did for them. Are you sure about that? Is that what caused the cancer? Well, yeah. If you smoke, will you get will you get lung cancer if you smoke? Oh, not necessarily. So it doesn't cause it, does it? Well, it doesn't cause it in some cases. Well, what do you mean? You said it caused cancer. You said if you don't smoke because you have COPD. Everybody who smokes has COPD. Well, do you know the rates of smoking in Asian countries? Smoking? Oh my God! So is there lung cancer through the roof? Not necessarily. What is it? Are there other factors? Is it the same kind of tobacco? Is it the same lifestyle? I don't know. Sparky says, how do Japanese live so long when so many of them still smoke cigarettes? Maybe people should only smoke Japanese brands. That's the answer. Yes, indeed. Or smoke them with chopsticks. I love when people say, why do people smoke so long? Look at this. Why do people smoke? Why do they live so long? Why? What is this? There are people who live right next to each other. There was a group of people who, centenarians, I forget. There was this one group of people that said, why do they live so long? Why is there? Remember, it was Dan and Yogurt. Remember that why do these people? Okay. Here's one for you. And by the way, I love the way we will start off a show. I thought we were going to talk about Fani Willis, and then this opens up, and I find this is even more because somebody will say something. I told you the story. How many of you believe that a glass of red wine a day is healthy for you? How many believe that? Yes or no? Just tell me. Do you believe that? Do you believe that a glass of red wine, have you heard that one? A glass of red wine is healthy for you, right? Have you heard that one? Say it all the time. Well, he's a so-and-so, this woman, she smoked. She lived to be 1,000 years old, and she always said, I've got to have a glass of red wine every day. Remember that? Do you believe that? Do you believe that one? I mean, that's what they said. Sparky says, true that jobs could have been easily saved, but how do you get the cancer in the first place? How does anybody get pancreatic cancer? Pancreatic cancer is still, in terms of cancer, very rare. It's rare. And it's a really weird one, too. It's a very strange. And some people, not everybody. Remember, Ruth Bader Ginsburg had pancreatic cancer. She lived longer than most people think. How do people get gliomas? The one you don't want is a glioblastoma or glioma. That's the worst of the worst of the worst. How did you get that? How? How did this come along? Our good friend John Jelaine says, Ray Kurzweil drank bottles of the red wine a day. Well, yeah. Ray Kurzweil is so full of shite, it's not even funny. Remember what people were saying? They said, resveratrol. And then they were making these resveratrol. This is interesting. Resveratrol is because of the grape, the skin that surrounds the grape, the especially red wines. That was a part of this because it. Well, they said later on. This is interesting. The reason why is because in order for it to withstand the rigors of the sun, it had to, because it went through hormesis, which I mentioned to you before about fasting, which now they're trying to get. So fasting's not good. Bullshit. Granted, you can if you can starve to death, but that's not fasting. Anyway, hormesis, the stressor, is responsible for that. So then what they did was they said these people who drank a glass of red wine a day were very, very healthy. And somebody said, wait a minute. What about people who didn't drink any wine? They were even healthier, whatever that means. And the reason why somebody who drinks red wine is only drinks because they showed an ability to control or they controlled the ability to monitor, to self-regulate. They showed discipline. See? So it wasn't the fact that they drank a glass of wine, but they also did other things. They didn't smoke. They ate moderately. That same behavior that only limited them to one glass of wine also limited their healthy selections elsewhere. Sparky says, how did Jerry Lewis, a famous heavy smoker, live so long? That's a great question. A lot of people do. Raul Rodriguez says, when George Burns was asked his secret to living long, he said, I keep breathing. That's true. When you also look at, if you look at something, let's look at mental illness. Let's look at a lot of things. What causes people? Adam, by the way, says, GCMAF cures cancer. Met a survivor 5 years ago. No. Be careful of the word cure. Be careful. Oh, this is this one. Oh, an oncologist will... By the way, GCMAF is a chief of the general staff of the Mongolian armies. Let me see what I don't think you meant that one. GCMAF. Let's do a little research. Let's see what GCMAF says. And GCMAF is GC protein derived macrophage activating factor is a natural protein that activates macrophages, which are white blood cells that fight bacteria growth. Okay, good. Potential catch. Yeah, good. That's good. Now, when you say it cures cancer, be careful. Because what curing also means sometimes is when you're in remission is you go 5 years without it. That doesn't mean. Let me ask this question. If I told you that some cancers could have been cured years ago. I mean, where you can just kill the cancer. I mean, not just remove it. Because what we do now is we remove it, look for the margins, blast it, and it doesn't come back. Okay, did we cure the cancer? Well, I don't know if we cured it. Cured it to me would be to take it and now it becomes benign. It doesn't do anything anymore. That's really curing it, but whatever. What if I told you that the medical community could have found cures for cancer, but that they didn't look because of the money that's involved? Do you think that's possible? Do you think there's any possibility that we in life, that there have been diseases that the medical community deliberately did not cure because of the money that they made? Do you think that that remains even the remotest of possibilities? Do you think so? Do you think that even do you think that's even remotely possible? Do you? Absolutely. Absolutely. Stand by for a minute, dear friends, because we have not talked about my dear pal. I've never met the man, but I respect him immensely. His name is Mike Lindell. The product is MyPillow, and if you use MyPillow.com promo code Lionel, you get this, a free gift. Well, it's time yet again to hail and salute our great friends at MyPillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you get a free gift. No purchase necessary. I know, a free gift. Gifts are free. Okay, it's a tautology, so sue me. But listen to me and listen carefully. What are we talking about here? Down comforters, flannel sheets, Giza Dream bed sheets, MyPillow 2.0 body pillows, waffle blankets, couch and recliner pillows, sheets, slippers, percales. I'm not even done yet. Towels, quilts, bedspreads, mattresses, mattress covers, mattress toppers, linens, kitchen towels, bathrobes, pet blankets, bolster pillows, name it. Items to help you luxuriate and relax. And their monster sellers, slippers, My Slippers, slip-ons, moccasins. Think about it. What do they do at My Pillow? What's their main goal? To make things real soft, plush, real comfy, or comfy as I say it. How perfect. So here's the link right now. Go to mypillow.com/Lionel. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel or /Lionel, or call 800-645-4965. 800-645-4965. And watch how fast our good friend Mike Lindell answers the phone. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, simply and absolutely the best. My dear friend, the scariest word is cause. Dick Van Dyke, God bless him, is still with us. He was a 5-pack-a-day smoker with a bad drinking problem until he quit in 1970s. He got straight early enough, I guess. Maybe. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Maybe. There was a fellow the other day who was a fellow who died, honey? There's a New York anchor for a long time, John or anchor? No, an anchor, a TV anchor. He said, "Do you know where your kids are?" Or anyway, this fellow is 90-something years old, died, and in all his publicity photos, cigarettes. You want to do anecdotal stuff? First, ask this. When did cancer rates begin to really pick up? How long did we first notice cancer? Where did cancer come from? Where did cancer? Why do we call it cancer? From the crab. The way the some of the cancer the cancer tendrils would wrap around things like that. That's one of them. Cancer was from the crab, right? When was it first seen? When did we notice it? John Jolene knows. He asks, everyone has E. coli in their gut and have cancer in their body at any time. It is just kept in check in the healthy, not trying to be scary. No, that's not true. Not everybody has, quote, cancer. You don't have, you don't have, first of all, let me go back to this again. You don't have cancer. You can have something that has been dormant. You have something that is ready to be, for example, these idiot men who decide, I'm going to take hormones. I'm going to take human growth hormone. No. And by the way, John, thank you for that. No. Let's say there's some kind of a piss-poor, pissant kind of a prostate cancer somewhere. What are one of the means of dealing with prostate cancer? Orchiectomies, castration. You don't want to feed it with testosterone, right? Okay, so you're going to go along and you're going to fuel it. Maybe. Let's talk about gliomas. That's I don't want to say it's my favorite, but do some research on that. It is just, it basically incorporates itself. It becomes the brain. It's the wildest of them. How does it find? What about the blood-brain barrier? Where'd that come from? Years ago, someone said, where is it? Years ago, there was no such thing as pediatric oncology. Well, there was leukemia, and that became very, very successful. But cancers today? Oh my God. Go to Sloan Kettering, MD Anderson, wherever it is, Moffitt in Tampa. Look at the number of kids with cancer. There was a time years ago when nobody never saw it in kids. Sparky says, didn't mean to insinuate that carrots cause cancer. No, I did not think that. Just that Jobs did weird things with his diet. What if he ate salads with leaves from the nightshade plants with hemlock? Oh, I know, nightshades. Remember this? They were talking about this, certain hemlocks, for example, eggplants. You know, that kind of thing. Yes, right. What about the arsenic? Is it arsenic that's found in brown rice or too much? You want to get into that stuff? Let me go back, though, and let me ask you a question. Sparky, this is the answer. When you say plant-based, are you saying not eating meat causes cancer? That's what you're saying. It's not the plants. People eat plants. People eat salads. People eat greens. People eat all day long. They may not eat a lot of it. And believe it or not, the people who are plant-based only don't eat that much more than you normally do. They may not, so that's the thing that gets me. That's the part that gets me. So you're saying, and by the way, I have no, ice cream is great, milk is great, milkshakes. I'm not saying anything about this. It's a free country, do whatever you want. But one of the things you got to realize is casein. What is the thing about this? We are the only animal that drinks the milk from another animal. That's just weird. It's just weird. They don't do that. God says, why are you doing that? There's this cheese made from not goat cheese, but like burro, or I never understood donkeys, burros, and asses. I don't know what the hell the difference is, but anyway. But there's this thing that people who anyway, there's a cheese that's really hard. And I'm thinking, who ever thought? Oh, some people said, this is my favorite. This has nothing to do with this, but I never thought I thought this was interesting. Let me just stop garbling. Somebody suggested that mother's milk was so good because of the high fat content. The fat content was so important for myelinization. There's more fat content in rat milk. The baby rats eat from mother rats. There's more fat than in human. I just thought that was interesting. Casein is this. If you read Colin Campbell, the China study, he was a dairy farmer. And casein is which was so interesting about milk, that makes cows grow real fast. Very interesting. It doesn't makes you grow. I said, wait a minute, what was that? In the old days, nobody thought anything of it. Hey, take your protein. Oh, protein was from the 19th century. That's a brand new concept. Unless you have kwashiorkor or something. No doctor. Yeah, I ask anybody who says, you got to get some protein. We have a friend of ours who says, my doctor said, I've got to eat some meat. I said, well, you should change doctors. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Did your doctor really say that? I don't believe they said that. Sean Martin, ladies and gentlemen, says, could you do a one-off video on plant-based? I'm researching it. I will do that, but I'm telling you, I don't know if people, it tends to be very, it comes across, by the way, thank you. It comes across to some people as being, lecturing. You know what I mean? You're lecturing. And I hate that. You have no idea. There's an old joke. How many vegans, I tell this joke and nobody gets it. How many vegans does it take to change a light bulb? I'm better than you. How can you tell somebody's a vegan in a room? Don't worry, they'll tell you. Vegans are the most obnoxious people I've ever met. I don't tell people this. I hate it. Vegetable oils weren't common worldwide until there was a shortage of animal fat. Ironically, because of a larger population due to increases in medicine. Could your precious plant oils be a culprit? Well, no, plant oils are I believe it or not, I have been, and this is my biggest thing. I do not want oils. They go berserk. And I tell people most of the time, stay away from olive oil. In fact, there's a wonderful thing that Michael Greger does. What I do every single day, and have done it for years, 15 years, I guess, at least, is ground flaxseed. The things that I do every single day, ground flax seeds for this, I stay away from, that omega-6, omega-3, that weird kind of a balance. Oils, if at all possible, eliminate everything. Corn oil, oh God, no. Ugh. Corn, canola. Oils, you don't need oils. You just don't. You don't need them at all. And people go berserk over that. What? So I don't, no way. I'm not into that at all. Now, what I'm going to do is this, and this is so simple. I tell people this all the time. If you go to a restaurant, order everything and just say, pass on the meat. That's it. Eat whatever you're eating. Just pass on the meat. Or, and if you want to go a little further, dairy. How many of you, dear friends, are so much better once you quit dairy? I've never been like lactose intolerant or anything, but how many of you fine folks have done this? I am an absolute fan. If I have to have something, I'm an almond milk fan. If I really, I don't use any kind of milk for anything. I don't. How many of you, dear friends? Okay. Now, here's the thing. Remember, you do whatever you want. You eat whatever you want. I have never met so many people who have been they get violent over this stuff. Well, why don't you eat your beans? And say, I didn't bring this up. You brought this up. Oh yeah, fine. We can go to parts of India. Well, there's a population problem there, all right. And China, rural, where meat is like so de minimis. That's like the great Mediterranean diet, where people, Ansel Keys in 1953, where they had this joke where they said that, yeah, the Mediterranean diet, oil, olive oil, wine, nuts. He never said that. Where'd you get that from? I don't know. When I say Mediterranean, I have these friends of ours who say, we're so European. I said, Slovenia? What? When they think European, they think Paris or Rome. People don't know anything. What do you mean Mediterranean diet? There's like 18 or 20 countries that they don't know anything about that. They'll focus in on something. Oh, yeah. I was like, how come all you vegetarians look sickly? I don't think they look sickly. Well, I do. You're just saying that. Okay, maybe I am, but still, it doesn't matter. You see what you're doing? You're looking for something. That's the thing. You are predisposed to something. Sometimes it's guilt. Sometimes people say, I know, I'm not saying you, but some people say, inherently, I think it'd be a lot better off if I didn't eat meat, but I can't. So I'm just going to trash them. And I'm going to say things like, well, my grandfather had bacon every morning, lived to be 83. Oh, okay. Well, there you have it. So you're wrong about that because my grandfather lived to be 83, 80, 88, 90, whatever the number. And he had bacon. He ate bacon. He smoked cigarettes too. So cigarettes are good for you? No. It's okay. My grandfather lived to be 98 years old, and he never exercised a day in his life, never ran. So exercise is bad for you? Exercise doesn't make a difference because your grandfather? Is that what you're saying? There's a lot of people who don't. By the way, if you look at it, is your idea of health not death? Is that it? Staving off death? I don't want that. I want quality of living. I want quality. Well, are you telling me I'm going to live a long time? No. Go through your obit section in your local paper. Look at people, 89, 90, 100. Look at those people. Do they look like vegetarians to you? No. So can you live to be 80, 90 with eating meat? Yeah. Sure you can. But 750 to 800,000 roughly people die every year of heart attack. That can be preventable. So those people would beg to differ with you. Sparky says, guess my point is when going on a seemingly exotic diet, research it. Otherwise, it may be fraught with peril. Check with the plant-based South Asians, for instance. They're experts by now. Well, exotic diet's one thing, which is a very, very weird thing. And I agree with you. Thank you, by the way, Sparky. I do admit, whenever you have, I'm trying to think of something that you eat that's too much. Sometimes people who would eat, we knew this little kid who ate tomatoes and the lycopene, I guess, in the tomatoes, kid would like turn red. I mean, it was fine, but I'm trying to think of an exotic diet that's bad for you. This is my favorite, though. My favorite is, how long do you have to go before you're going to starve? Ask, unless you have anorexia, eating disorders, that's really something. Very rare, but you'll actually see at some particular point, you'll whatever. But ask doctors, have you ever seen somebody with a protein deficiency? No. I love people who come up with certain. I wish people would say, well, it's probably better, but I don't want to do that. Okay, that's fine. Now, it's one thing when you say, you should stay away from fentanyl. I don't know. Now that would be crazy. But if somebody says, excuse me, I'm going to have bacon, I don't think that's crazy. I think that makes sense. Let me put it this way. Can you think of anything that smells better than bacon? Maybe garlic and oil. Garlic is great. Olive oil. I stay away from that. But can you tell me if there's anything better than bacon? Is there anything, can you tell me what is more wonderful on a Sunday or in a morning? Remember when you were a kid and your mother's making bacon? Didn't that just say, oh my God, it was Pavlovian, the connection between this and that? Now, hold that bacon up. See that red color? Yeah, not good. Yeah, pork's not red. Well, it's because of the smoking. No, nitrates are helping it, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. Bacon's okay. The chemicals, never. How about guanciale? The cheek from the, that's great. Pancetta, very good. Real bacon if you get bacon that's from like those old, that cured stuff that's just, they just they put salt and pepper and they hang them up. That's great. But if you get something that's got to be in a pack for like a year, and it's nice and red, no. Run from that. Pork itself, bacon. I'll bet you if you could really have wild, honest to God, like wild boar, where they eat chestnuts and things, that would be terrific. I mean, that's a different story. But here's my favorite. Have you ever grown a turkey or a chicken? Just like when they have I like chicken farmers, and it's just fun to hear the noise and they're running around and he's not giving them anything. See, there's this commercial on TV. What's it, Purdue? Is it Purdue? We don't use antibiotics. We don't use no antibiotics. Yeah. What about hormones? No antibiotics. When you get a roaster that looks like this, like one of those big things, it's like, what the hell is this? That's a chicken. What'd you give it? Stuff. Turkeys, wild turkeys. When you go to when they have those, if you go to like Whole Foods, you can order your turkey. Well, I want a 78-pound turkey. Got it. That's just the breast. No problem. What are you giving those things? Why is it like that? I don't know. Steroids. Whatever. Okay. All right. That's not going to hurt me, is it? No. How about little girls now having a menarche period starting? How early are these? They want to do puberty blockers. Sometimes it might be a good idea. You see an 8-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid with a period? Say, wait. I know it happens. I know sometimes this happens, but this is weird. This is not a good idea. It's not nice to fool Mother Nature. So going back to what I said, let's go back. And when did we start to see cancer and heart disease and various cancers? Did we always have brain? It's always been cancer to an extent. But what is it now? Certainly environmental. Absolutely. But what environment? That we got to figure out. Is Wi-Fi good for you? Anybody? Wi-Fi. You got your phone that has, hey, look, that's a strong Wi-Fi signal. Do you walk around with earbuds? What is that in your ear? Little transmitters, little receivers, in your ear. Wow, they would have checked them out. Really? You think Apple is going to check this out? What about 5G? Oh, God, don't bring that up. Is that good for you? Is 5G being based? Do you think that's a good idea? Probably not. Not a good idea. No, not really. I'll tell you one good thing that we do. We drink more water than we ever did. You remember around the 80s, well, before, remember when Evian came along? Naive spelled backwards. Remember that? Evian? And then there was Perrier before that. And then people started walking around with their jugs and they started walking around with this. Remember that? Remember that? It's like we are hydrated. That we are. Sparky said, remember, Junior Sample's grandfather drank a quart of liquor a day of his life and it killed him. He died at the age of 102. Oh, absolutely. You know, I had an old bartender one time, Sparky, and thank you for that. I had an old bartender tell me, he says, you know, it was in the days when you could smoke at a bar. He says, you see this? And he pointed to a glass. He says, see all the old people here? It was like a neighborhood joint. See all the old people? They're all drinking, right? He says. Then he pointed to a cigarette. See the old people smoking? No. Now that's observational. I think people, luckily, are. I hope people cigarette smoking. There's no. Come on, we're not even going to argue that one. And vaping, I think. Do you notice vaping's on the decline? I have. I think vaping is. I remember somebody one time told me, "Well, it's better than smoking." Well, is it not vaping better than? Is not vaping better than not smoking? That doesn't make any sense. Don't you love the way people come up with their own things? Well, it's better than. But you know what? It calms me. What about this? Well, you know, stress is a killer. Really? Yeah. What are you going to do for stress? Well, how do you prevent stress? What do you mean by stress? Good stress, bad stress, stress on the trading floor when you're making millions of dollars. Is that bad for you? Or stress when you're out in a war and they're trying to shoot you? What kind of stress are we talking about? Well, it doesn't. You see, you got to understand something. People are full of shit. They just make up stuff. Well, you know, I know you, no, it's just, no. See, Toby Keith died because he got that jab. Really? That's it? How about the billions of people who did not get that? Well, that's a different story. This is my favorite one. Everybody here today, everybody watching right now, did not die in a car accident and did not die because they weren't wearing seatbelts. All of you up till now could have not worn seatbelts, probably, and you'd still be here. So what good are seatbelts? Most people don't. Do you know anybody who goes through a windshield? No. Have you ever heard of that? There's no room. Look at your car. Luckily your people are so big they can't go through the thing. But what do we, I'm granted you don't want to hit the windshield, or the windscreen, as it were. Now, one thing about Kate, before I forget, Wes Inman says, I like pizza. Thank you, Wes. Wes, pizza is the greatest. Do me a favor. You ever had a Roman pizza? Roman style? Roma? No cheese. Fantastic. New York pizza is the best. The best. They're simply better. And pizza is one of the greatest things. The only thing that I don't like about pizza is processed. I think when I get older, I love that Ezekiel bread. I like sprouted. I don't like processed milled wheat. It turns to rock. Forget the glycemic index. And whole wheat doesn't do a whole hell of a lot better, by the way. It doesn't. But pizza is a wonderful thing. Now, let me tell you something. Did you notice in the cave pictures? This is what I want to tell you. Notice how the pictures, did you see the video? It's like a painting. I don't think it's a green screen. Maybe it is. But it's like a painting. Somebody said it was Monet. I don't know what it was. But it's a painting. Not one flower. Watch a Kate video today. Just watch it and look at the video. And look at the picture at the flowers. They don't move. They're frozen. And I think, and I'm sorry, I think that it looks like she might be wearing a wig, poor thing, because of the chemo. Remember, she did this video Wednesday. Okay, that's all. And I understand, that's fine. Now, I just pointed this out. I don't think that looked like I don't know what that is. Am I a conspiracy theorist because I didn't see the plants move or the flowers? There's no. Look at it. And if you watch BBC, they say she was outside. Well, she might be outside, but that thing behind her, that's a painting or it's a picture or something. That's not real. She might be outside. And they decided, let's put this behind her. I don't know. Am I a conspiracy theorist? What? Am I a conspiracy theorist? No. Well, that's what they said. And some people have suggested, nobody knows about Charles, why he doesn't come on and tell people what he has, whether it's pancreatic. I have no idea. I have no idea. And why doesn't Kate say, and I said this yesterday, she comes on and says, listen, I have cancer, but I'm not the only one. There are people, but I'm lucky. Don't worry about me. I've got a staff. I've got all my kids have nannies and I've got doctors and I've got 4 houses and castles. I'm doing okay. But there are people who are poor, who are worried about health insurance, or they're on that national health insurance and they haven't seen a doctor and whatever it was. Kate should invite people to Balmoral or Adelaide Cottage or wherever the hell they are and embrace this and own it. And don't tell me I'm being brave. There are brave people all the time. There are brave people. Let's go right now to any cancer hospital in the world. They're brave too. I'm not going to own this. I'm not going to corner the market on bravery. That's what she could have done. And I wish she also would have said, and by the way, I don't understand why they put up that bullshit picture. I'm not a photoshopper, and don't blame me for that. I didn't do that. Some genius here did it. I couldn't Photoshop if you say, I don't even know what the hell that is. Do I look like a photoshopper to you? Do I? Come on. Stop it. Sparky says, Bee-lac leaf 40 is a great natural pesticide. It's being 40% nicotine. Oh, I remember when we had that. We used to have, growing up, thanks, Sparky, we had these trucks would bring tobacco. They put them on the lawn, and my parents cared about their lawn. They were very, very serious about the lawn. But I remember that. Tobacco, I was like, why don't we just spray? No. I'm not even sure what the hell. Don't forget nicotinamide. But there's so much, and they're telling you, all these people are saying, all these conspiracy theorists, those bastards lied over nothing. They haven't come clean about Chuck. They haven't said anything about her, and they lied twice. 2 Photoshop pictures, the one on Mother's Day and the one before that. Again, blaming Kate for that, blaming her. Okay. And there's all kinds of stuff. Why did Wills have the black eye? What about this woman? Wills they have been talking about him being a womanizer forever. It's not from me. Read the blinds, read the gossips. I don't give a damn one way or the other. I don't believe they had anything to do with it. But the problem is, whatever conspiracy theories these people inspired, they caused it. All right. Okay. It's not bad. An hour and 18 minutes today. Gave you the best. It's really nasty here in New York. Sparky, thank you immensely, my friend. Your insight, your perspective, always interesting, always piquant, as people say. Sean Martin, thank you. John Jelaine, thank you. Adam Platts, thank you. Raul Rodriguez, thank you. John Jelaine, I said that, thank you. Adam, thank you. So What says, oh, wait a minute. I missed this. So What writes, I'm 50 now and use no drugs. Tried weed first in my teens, didn't like it. Tried cocaine and liked it, but was afraid of OD. No, cannabis is no gateway drug. It depends on the brain genetic makeup. Absolutely. Sorry about that. So What? And by the way, happy birthday, I guess one would say. Ms. Laurent, thank you. Edie Crowley and Alistair McLaughlin and Alice Fava. New members, thank you immensely for your countenance and the like. By the way, drugs? No. And the weed from the 70s and 80s, that's not what people are smoking. That's what I hear. That's from the research I've done. Sparky writes, the cruel fools in the UK still use Kate to troll the public. They did, to distract from economic woes, Ukraine, failure in Gaza, genocide. I don't know if they use that because of that, because it didn't matter. By the way, Candace Owens on the day that she announces her big sayonara from Daily Wire, boom, Kate just, but that's okay. Most people in this country are paying attention. I don't think that's why they did this. I don't think they care. I think there's this stupidity there where they believe that they don't have to tell you anything. They just don't care about any form of deception, Sparky. I just don't think they care. I just think they figure it's none of your business. We're going to tell you what we want, and we're used to it. And also, it's part of this process to always keep you guessing, so to speak. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. Please don't forget, follow Mrs. L. Follow Mrs. L. It's critical, beyond critical that you follow her at Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. Lynn's Warriors, Lynns Warriors, and on Twitter or X at Lynn's_Warriors. All right, dear friends, thank you. Have a great and glorious day. See you tonight at 7 p.m. And don't forget, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.